Welcome to the Political Matrix News. Politics, people, local, regional, national news. Political Matrix News keeps you informed. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix. And welcome to the Political Matrix News. We are recording this on, June 5th.
Yes, it is.
June the 5th. I'm Rob Milford in Orlando. Greg Fink holding down the fort in Gainesville as best he can. Scott Miller guarding the western gate to the Sunshine State. He's in Pensacola. And the way the things are going, his mustache stretches from Pace to Perdido Key. You'll have to know the geography there. Turns out a good friend of mine is now a bouncer at the Floribama Bar. When you come into Florida, it is the first bar literally on the state line. And he is now a bouncer and empties the trash. And he is a graduate of an esteemed university and has been retired for a few years. And his wife said, "You need to get out of the house." So he knew the guy that owned the bar Floribama and said, "Hey, what do you got?" He says, "Come on down. We'll figure something out." That's great. Can't believe
I've said for a very long time, no one goes to the Floribama, but a lot of people wind up there.
Very, very true. And I've been there through thick, thin, downright ridiculous. I was there in 2004, in September of 2004. The sand inside the bar was about 4 feet deep. You actually had to dig through the sand a little bit to find the bar. And
Hurricane Ivan.
That is correct, which came ashore pretty much in Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, and then spread all of its warmth and wetness all over Pensacola. When I moved to Pensacola in the late summer, early fall of 2008, 4 years later, there were still blue tarped roofs. So I don't know if you point the finger at emergency management or Escambia County or the city of Pensacola or the state of Florida, but there were still roofs with blue tarps on them.
There's still actually boats on the Highway 90 causeway and going into Pace from Pensacola.
Yeah, on the northeast side.
Over there have been there now since that hurricane.
Yeah, 20 years. 20 years September. I think that what I look at when I see June 5th and certainly June 6th, historian Stephen Ambrose refers to June 6, 1944, 80 years ago, as the most important day of the 20th century. It was an absolute turning point because the U.S. and Britain and Canada and a bunch of other nations that had detachments of troops, battalions, brigades, stormed ashore the beaches of France, starting ridiculously early. And it was D-Day. It was the longest day. And thousands of Americans died that day. More Americans died than every other country combined because we tried to take one really nasty piece of real estate called Omaha Beach. And I always agreed with Stephen Ambrose on that. Had that not gone well, everything since June 6, 1944 would be changed, and we would not know it. But it came out the way it did. Yeah, we'd be paying our taxes maybe to Berlin. I don't know, but
in Deutschmarks.
Yeah, there you go. That would be it. And Adolf the third, probably Adolf the third, the same way they handed down the presidency in Haiti with the Duvalier family, and the way that they hand down leadership in Syria, and the same way they hand down leadership in North Korea. So there you have it. Our job is not to do history. Our job is to make history here. So the hot story of the day, Scott Miller, what do you got?
Oh, the one I want to talk about is the Hunter Biden trial.
Well, let's do.
For me, and my favorite part about this trial is less about how it's being conducted, but the way that a lot of people are, a lot of the Democrats are trying to say that, see, President Trump should just be quiet because justice is served. It's not just it's not a special kind of justice for one person and a different kind of justice for someone else. Hunter Biden is having to pay the cost, and his dad's the president, and you don't hear his dad complaining. My personal view of that is well, that may be true, but Hunter Biden is not running for office, and unlike what the prosecution is going against Donald Trump, you don't have to do any kind of special contortion to understand the charges and the trial.
No.
Hunter Biden signed a 4473 and said that he was not taking or addicted to illegal drugs, and then he wrote a book and took video talking about how he was taking and addicted to crack cocaine.
There you go. Video of him smoking.
Yeah.
Now, let's translate that to English. What is a 4473? I know what it is.
4473 is the form that you have to fill out whenever you go buy a firearm. It's the federal form that you have to fill out in order to purchase a gun and have a background check done. So he can, and one of the questions explicitly on it asks you about illegal drug use, and it is supposed to be a disqualifier. If you say yes, then you don't get the gun. He said no, he got the gun, knowing full well that he was on his way home to smoke some crack.
That is correct. Now, by the way, when you lie on a 4473, run of the mill, let's say if Scott Miller did it, for instance, not that you would knowingly, willingly break the law because you're a law-abiding kind of guy, but let's just say that you did that and you lied on it. It's generally 10 years in federal prison, $25,000 fine. That's sort of the max end. It can drop down from that point. But just so we know we're all on the same page, if he gets a $25,000 fine and no jail time, okay, I can't see the judge, the federal jury giving him jail time, but they sure could. But the fact that it's going to trial, 90+% are administrative, and they say, okay, it's a $10,000 fine, 15, whatever, and we're confiscating the gun.
Yeah, and that's almost certainly what's going to happen. But my whole point is that this is not an illustration of how egalitarian the justice system is.
Mm-hmm.
It is just the Democrat Party, and frankly, I'm sure Joe Biden being willing to sacrifice Hunter in order to protect the whole family, knowing full well, as you just said, first offender. He really doesn't have any kind of, he's committed a lot of crimes, but he has been convicted of a lot of crimes.
Right.
So
Greg,
he'll get a slap on the wrist at best.
Yeah, Greg, you were in the Air Force or Navy?
Air Force.
Okay, well, the Navy had Hunter Biden as an officer because he was a college graduate. He was a Lieutenant JG, and he got canned out of the Navy within 6 months because he flunked a P test and tested positive for marijuana. And I don't know if he got a general discharge or a less than honorable discharge or a dishonorable discharge. Somebody's going to have to look that up. But that counts as a crime. It
does, but it does, but it's not it's not something that in sentencing guidelines like that's really going to get too crazy, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is basically, I think it's a good dovetail to what Trump went through and everything, and we're going to be able to see hypocrisy right in front of us in clear daylight.
Right. So let's see. Hunter's found guilty and gets a fine, and then the White House issues a pardon.
Maybe.
If I were on the Biden campaign, honestly, if I were advising the Biden campaign, I would make sure that Hunter is prosecuted, because knowing full well, like as we just said, it's unlikely he would get jail time. It's there are people who do much worse than this, gun crimes and this, that get essentially a slap on the wrist. So I think it's unlikely that he'll get it. This is theater. So I mean, in the world of campaigns, Joe Biden whipping $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 out of his back pocket and paying his son's fine, no big deal. He's made that much. His son has made orders of magnitude more money than that off of him to begin with.
Right.
Well, I think when we talk about theater, I think the biggest theater we're seeing here is the entire judicial theater. I mean, between everything they did with Trump and all the theater with that and the theater with this, I mean, basically, we're seeing, there's a lot of polls out there saying that people are losing credibility and they're losing their patience and they're losing their faith in the judicial system. This is why, because everybody looks at it more theatrically and more, poetic justice, stuff like that, instead of, just what's the law. And it's being played out the way it's being played out in the media is being so biasly, portrayed, depending on which station you watch. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think he will get jail time, but I think he will be found guilty. And don't forget, he's been selling his paintings, his artwork,
Have you
which
seen it
may
yet?
be
Have you seen his paintings
outsourced
yet?
to a village in China. It just might be, but he's selling those things for a few $100,000. Talk about the way to wash to launder money. But
Yeah.
so he gets hit with a $25,000 fine. Daddy doesn't
I
need
just
to
sell
pay that.
paintings.
Yeah, sell paint
Cell
one.
painting.
Yeah. So there is that, but it's a very clear cut case. And the thing that bothers me the most in all of this, you know what the prosecution introduced in the first full day of the trial? Hunter Biden's laptop. The laptop that 51 CIA, FBI, national intelligence people all said was disinformation
Russia
planted
disinformation.
by the Russians in 2016. Hey, this is the Russians are colluding with Donald Trump.
Yeah, big laptop.
Yeah. And it turns out everything on the laptop was true. They just showed, I was watching Fox, they just showed a clip of Biden defending, saying, the laptop's junk. They had 50 some people sign off on it that it was junk. And Trump says, no, it's not junk. Well, damn it, Donald Trump was right. And you keep that in mind with all of this shenanigans.
A couple of days ago, I heard the best idea I think I've heard in this entire regarding this entire situation for what Trump should do if he wins, and they said on his first day, clean house, and the best way to clean house is all those people that signed that in those intelligence professionals that said that Trump is basically a Russian asset.
Mm-hmm.
Just revoke all their clearances.
Yep.
Exactly.
Because these guys make boatloads of money after they leave the government by retaining that clearance and still having access to top secret things.
Right.
Well,
yes.
The president is the final arbiter on who gets to keep their security clearance. So
Agreed.
just go in there with a whip of a pen. You can end the careers of most of those people.
Sounds like a plan to me. When we come back in our next segment, Greg Fink lets loose on the Republican Party of Florida. I know you will punch up the next one right here on the Political Matrix Newscast.